I am joined on the line by Greg Dick, Director of Educational Outreach for the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics. And as I said, in addition to being the Director of Outreach for Perimeter Institute, Greg's also my brother. Good morning, and thanks for being here bright and early, Greg.
Good morning, Joel. It's a pleasure to be here.
Greg, for people who are listening who don't know, what exactly is the Perimeter Institute, and what's your mission?
So the Perimeter Institute is that vision of Mike Lazaridis turned into reality. So Mike Lazaridis is the co-CEO of RIM, of BlackBerry fame, and he was, so the story goes, with a little bit of artistic license, he was sitting on his couch one day and wondering why it was that he has been so personally successful. He decided, you know what it is? It was the physics that was discovered 100 years ago that allowed him to innovate and create his company and get his success. So let me take your listeners back that 100 years to give you a sense of what it is that actually happens at PI. 100 years ago, a physicist by the name of Maxwell, so he's the theoretical physicist, he was sitting there thinking about electricity and magnetism. At the time, they were two distinctly different fields, and he was able to combine them into four elegant little equations. That's the theoretical physics part. That was the breakthrough. Then another experimental physicist steps into the picture. His name is Heinrich Hertz. He built a device to test the theoretical physics that Maxwell had created. It was a little spark generator, so it would make a spark every second. And then across the room, he builds one little wire loop with a tiny little cut out of it. When you turn the little spark generator on, it makes a spark every second. Across the room, and he shows this to his first-year university students, as the story goes, and they come and they take a look at the little wire loop on the far side, and sure enough, every time there's a spark from the generator, there's a little spark between the gap in that wire loop. And his students look at him in awe, and, Professor, what's next? And Hertz apparently says, with a shrug of his shoulders, I don't know, nothing, I guess. And as you know, it's quite far from the truth. In fact, now everything we do in today's knowledge economy is information through empty space. It's energy through empty space. All of our wireless devices and all of our computing technology harkens back to that moment. So that gives sort of that snapshot of what the researchers are doing at Perimeter. Mike Lazaridis wanted to give back in a way that it won't affect the world in 20 years or 25 years, but he's able to fund the thinking of the fundamental nature of our universe, which will impact society maybe 50 and 100 years down the road.
And Greg, your title is Director of Educational Outreach. So in addition to bringing those scientists into Perimeter Institute to do that kind of cutting-edge 100-year out, 150-year out research, what is it that the Director of Educational Outreach does for Perimeter Institute?
Well, the other part of what Mike Lazaridis' vision was, and which is sort of unique to our institute, is that there is outreach as the second mandate. So that first mandate was right off the top, world-class research, and then the second mandate was to share that message, and it was right from the very beginning. So what does that mean? To share the joy and the mystery and the passion of what modern science can do. And what the outreach team at PI does is exactly that. We try to specifically focusing on Canada, to raise scientific literacy in Canada. That's what we want to do. That's where we try to focus our energies. And then the way we do that, there's sort of three tiers to our strategy. The first is a general public and inspirational programming. So we have something called Physica Fantastica, where Dr. Epp travels across the country giving large-scale presentations. And these presentations can be to students and they can be to adults. And he makes the connections of the big physics, big thinking ideas to the modern-day world, and just to try to get people excited about what science has to offer from the theoretical physics perspective. And then there are other programs. There's summer programs coming up very quickly. One is the ISSYP, quite an acronym I know. It's the International Summer School for Young Physicists, where 20 Canadian students and 20 international students, these are the top physics students from around the world, come together to learn modern physics for 2 weeks. There's a similar program for teachers. We have public lectures, which are, last night actually was a public lecture by Freeman Dyson of Dyson Sphere fame, for your listeners that might recognize that name. He was mentioned on a Star Trek, The Next Generation episode so long ago. And then the final component the second component of our after inspirational programming, we do teacher and student resources, so in-class resources. And we follow that with then trying to put everything online to share that message, to share what physics is and what it can do.
And that's quite a long list for people who were listening and said, "Oh, that the Summer Institute for Young Physicists sounds interesting," or the resources for teachers who are out there. Where can they go to see that list, to see how to access those resources? So
the website, Perimeter's website, is just www.perimeterinstitute.ca, and then you click on the Outreach tab, and there's an area for general public with all of the resources available there. There's a resource tab to click for teachers and for students. And when you put all of those pieces together, especially in the student-teacher program, we are our target is to reach 100,000 students across Canada each school year, and the school year is coming to a close, and we've managed to surpass that this year. So things are on track.
And you didn't mention it, but one of my favorite resources, and I know it's not the center of what you do, but Alice and Bob are two young animated characters that I find quite enjoyable. Who are Alice and Bob, and what do they teach us?
Alice and Bob are two brother and sister. They're as you said, animated characters created by Dr. Richard Epp. And the short story is, Alice wonders just a pretty common question, like, for instance, why is it dark at night? The older brother, Bob, gives a typical older brother quip response and just throws that answer out, well, because the sun's not shining. But then through just a little discussion of question and answer, they all of a sudden discover some fundamental truth about the universe. So in that particular episode, the truth goes directly to the age of the universe. So there's 9 episodes. They're on the website. They're on YouTube. They're on Dailymotion. Your listeners, I think, would really get a kick out of them. They work with young kids. Our one animator, she showed her young daughter, and her young daughter, after watching a few of the episodes, turned to her and said, "Mommy, why can't I pick up a puddle?" Which is exactly what we hope these do. They just put those questions in your mind.
And for the listeners out there, do go and watch them. One in particular deals with gravity, where Alice teaches us that it may not in fact be gravity pulling us down to Earth, but the Earth expanding out to us. And if I love the video, but if anyone out there can understand it, maybe you can give me a call, because I tell you, it's simple, it's presented very well, and intuitively you look at it and the video is great, but I still haven't wrapped my head all the way around that.
I don't think you're alone.
Greg, I want to turn now to the Waterloo Global Science Initiative that Perimeter Institute is a part of, and I know there's the Equniox Summit Energy 2030 that begins this weekend. Who makes up the Waterloo Global Science Initiative?
So the Waterloo Global Science Initiative is a partnership between Perimeter Institute, PI, and UW, University of Waterloo. And it's an ambitious goal to develop, in 5 days, to develop a blueprint that could help lead the world to safe and sustainable energy generation over the next 30 years. So that sounds pretty substantial, and how is it that we're going to accomplish that is probably the next question.
That's absolutely the next question. Of course, safe and sustainable energy is a goal, a dream of many, many people, but how is the Waterloo Global Science Initiative going to do in 5 days what people have been struggling with for the last 100 years?
Well put. So the strategy is threefold. There will be first the group of scientific experts from different energy generation, transmission, and storage sectors, and these people are called our quorum experts. And they're going to be able to benchmark where the science is right now and present their leading edge understanding the science where they think it can go. And the interesting thing is they're going to do that unfettered by political agenda or economic agenda. It is just where the science is. And at first that feels, oh, that's good. We can really benchmark where the energy discussion needs to go. But then, of course, that would be a little bit naive to sort of keep it that removed from the reality. We do have economic realities. There are political realities across the globe. So then there's two other groups that are going to help shape what the science is saying. And then that next group is the forum. So the forum, these are our emerging leaders. Again, from across the world, we have 20 people coming. They're public policy leaders, but they're just young in their career. They're industry leaders. They're civil society individuals who are able to come to the summit. They'll push back on some of the ideas. They'll be part of the debate with the quorum scientists, the experts, and help shape what they want to see and where they think things can go for the next 20, 30 years looking out. And they will be also, after we're finished, they're going to go back to their home regions and they'll share the message in their region, in their country, to help move that agenda forward. And then the final piece are the advisors. And these advisors are the seasoned experts in public policy, in investors, of getting technologies commercialized and out there and being used, entrepreneurs, that really teach people how to accelerate and implement future technologies. So those three groups are going to work together to develop this blueprint in just 5 days.
And it will be a blueprint that hopes to take us forward into a more sustainable energy future, of course, critically important given that we haven't figured it out here yet in North America, and the need for power in China, the need for energy in India as the world grows and the population grows is quite immense. But Greg, for just members of the public, such as myself, who want to stay up to date on these topics as well, who want to see where this is going, are there any opportunities for members of the public, or is the entire summit taking place, as it were, in the bubble for those experts who are there to work together with themselves?
No, there certainly are public events to engage the public. So the launch event, which is on the 5th of June, is designed to share the benchmark videos, and there are tickets available. It'll be live, and it'll be streamed over the web. Everything that is public is also streamed over the web. So your listeners can watch, whether they're across the country or across the globe. There's opportunity to sort of follow along. And the benchmarking launch event will also have His Excellency, the Right Honourable David Johnston, our new Governor General of Canada. He'll be there to open the event. There will be plenary sessions each day that will be live streamed with their times and titles also online. And there will be public lectures. There's Balclave Mill, there's Tad Homer-Dixon, David Keith, all sharing their expertise from their perspective on the energy problems. And as well, TVO is the agenda. We'll also be broadcasting live from PI during the 5 days. All of the information is on the website, which is just www.wgsi.org.
And I take it there, if I go to the Perimeter Institute website, I'd be able to find a link to the Global Science Initiative as well.
That's completely true.
Greg, when we look around at our energy problem, we're still dependent here in North America on coal, which is a very dirty energy source, but one of our primary sources, at least at a North America level. What are the technologies that we're hoping to advance? Obviously, people talk about nuclear, and 30 years ago it was hoped that nuclear power could be a real savior, but we've seen the difficulties with nuclear waste. We've seen the difficulties and dangers of that, very recently in Japan, but of course on a more mundane level, simply storing the waste anywhere has been a problem. What are the technologies that are in their infancy now that you hope, or the or Waterloo Global Science Initiative hopes, could provide us the power we need 30 years in the future?
You know, and you're, just to step back for half a second, you're talking about the nuclear energy. That's Dyson spoke last night exactly about that. He was very, very involved in the early thinking around nuclear power, and he said exactly that. It was going to be the panacea. It was going to be that one fix-all where they'd be, you know, farming deserts using the energy of nuclear power. And the key, I think, is exactly that there isn't one answer. There will be several. So the experts are coming with next-generation solar in mind, which is new. It's nanomaterials, and it's new strategies to really take solar panels to an efficiency that makes them effective compared to right now. A solar panel is only about 50% efficient, and that's just not enough. But the new materials are really going to be able to push that envelope. Interestingly, a local Toronto, Ted Sargent from the U of T, he is a nanotech specialist. He'll be there. Then one that I think is really interesting is geothermal. So if you live in Iceland, all of that entire country is trying to go geothermal. But that probably makes good sense when you have that geothermal energy spewing up between cracks in the rock when you're in Iceland. The key here is Craig Dunn. He's the COO of Borealis Geopower. He's talking, it's called Big G geothermal, which stands for deep geothermal. It's accessible to everyone on the globe. You just have to drill down deep enough. In the past, it was considered just unheard of. It's not a feasible technology, but he's bringing expertise and some ideas that it might be the way to go. And then there's next generation nukes. They truly eat their own waste. So Yassine Kadai from CERN will be here to sort of share his expertise on that. And exactly, with the current Japanese crisis, the nuclear solution is going to be a much harder sell for sure.
Well, of course, the nuclear solution has that difficulty, but the waste, which of course caused a lot of the problem in Japan, the concept of eating their own waste is certainly an appealing one. Where are the advances being made, though, on energy storage? Because, of course, when we talk about a lot of the renewables, the major criticism of renewables such as wind, solar, you talked a bit about the fact that the panels today are not as efficient as we'd like. But wind, solar, and other renewables, the criticism is often that they can't provide base load power because they only generate when the conditions are right, and we don't have the capacity yet to store that energy. Is that something that the Quorum is hoping to address, and are there technologies out there that give promise for our ability to store energy?
Absolutely, and it's that storage question that will revolutionize the way we can deliver power. And exactly as you mentioned, it's the renewables. If we can't store that energy that they can generate for us, they're just not reliable enough. So there, again, are two sort of avenues to go there. One is specifically nanomaterials, and the other is there was a type of battery called a vanadium redox battery. It was discovered in the 1980s. The expert who discovered it, Maria Skylis-Kozakos from South Wales, will be here to share where that research is now. It's at a point where it's just about ready to be commercialized.
So when you're looking at all of this and looking at the lineup of experts, what do you think the single, and I know you said there's not going to be a single answer, but what is the single most promising technology that we're going to be able to push out there the quickest? What's going to create the quickest impact, help us move from coal and some of our other dirty energy technologies the most quickly?
Well, in the long term, I'm going to put my money on that Big G geothermal, just because it is truly accessible everywhere. But obviously, the infrastructure is really significant. So in the shorter term, my money, I think, still lies in fuel cells. Japan has actually done a lot of work on fuel cells. There are entire villages that are operating from a fuel cell. The advantage of the fuel cell is twofold. One, it delivers only the power that is drawn from it, that is required at any moment. And the second thing is that its only byproduct, its waste product, is water. So it to me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have said it is the solution. It is the panacea. But it's turning out there are other issues with fuel cells that maybe won't make it be the long-term overall solution. But you combine that with perhaps, I'm just voting for Big G geothermal because it's such a good name.
It certainly does have a good name, Big G. We can all remember it, and it's easy to say. As we wrap up, Greg, you give us those websites one more time, and maybe tell people where they can find you on Twitter if they're interested in the educational outreach activities of the Perimeter Institute.
Happily. So the Perimeter website, www.perimeterinstitute.ca, and then specifically the Waterloo Global Science Initiative is, again, www.wgsi.org. And if you want to listen to some babbling from me on Twitter, it's GregDick@PI, each word separated by an underscore.
And lastly, but just as I let you go, I know you have a big event coming up there at Perimeter Institute in September. What's going to be happening in September?
September 15th, 16th, and 17th is our grand opening of the new expansion. The building, we've doubled its size. It's called the Stephen Hawking Center. And there will be lots of public events then as well, and there will be tickets available online as we near the event. So certainly if you want to visit and public lectures and tour the new building, and also Professor Hawking is expected to be in attendance. That's September 15th, 16th, and 17th.
We'll look for more information on that, and it sounds like it'll be a real treat. Greg, thanks so much for being here this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Joel.
Take care. Have a great day.
Goodbye.
That was Greg Dick, Director of Educational Outreach, and also my brother. He's working at Perimeter Institute, and as you heard, Perimeter is trying to help, together with the University of Waterloo, to tackle what I think is the central challenge, as we heard actually from Vern Riediger, our futurist, last week, the central challenge facing humanity, that need for energy,